Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about episodes 1 through 3 of FX and Hulu's The Lowdown. So, The Lowdown was created by Sterlin Harjo, who also graced us with the absolutely amazing Reservation Dogs. Needless to say, when I heard he had a new show coming out, that was really all I needed to hear. I was in, needed no additional information, didn't care about a cast, none of that. I was like, oh, he's got a new show? I'm in. So this one stars Ethan Hawke as Lee Raybon. He's a Tulsa, Oklahoma true historian who might be one of the most eccentric, reckless, yet kind-hearted characters I've seen him play. 3 episodes in, I got a lot of thoughts, so let's just dive right in. And the show opens with what we are meant to accept as a suicide at the time, with a note tucked inside a book called Texas by the Tail. The deceased individual is named Dale Washburn, and he's played by Tim Blake Nelson, who we will see multiple times as over the course of these 3 episodes, kind of coming back in ghost form to narrate some of his letters. As the show proceeds, whether or not this was actually a suicide is called into question. It's filmed in the traditional way that you would film a suicide if you didn't want to show it. But that same strategy can also be employed if you want to be able to call it out whether or not it was actually a suicide. So that's where we stand with that. And then that's when we meet Lee Raybon, Ethan Hawke. He's strolling through the streets of Tulsa with some admittedly pretty good music. I expect the music on this show is going to be on par with what I heard on Reservation Dogs. Always some interesting stuff. And he passes Willie Jack from Reservation Dogs in this opening moment. And right away, I appreciate the kind of like wink at the Reservation Dog fans. I don't care about that much, but I do hope that he continues to bring, familiar faces from that show into this one. He gave a lot of people opportunities that they probably wouldn't have gotten otherwise. They've now at least made a name for themselves. I'd love to be able to continue to see them on shows going forward, especially the one spirit guy from there. I would love to see him. Lee's character is fascinating. So like I said, he calls himself a true historian, but he's really just a somewhat sleazy investigative reporter who's always broke but hustling and sometimes outright stealing to make ends meet. The country club scene, I think that was a country club where he steals that painting. Perfect example. Like, he's reckless, he lies, he steals, but like anytime he comes into money, you'll see this throughout the course of these 3 episodes, it never like fully sits with him. And it's never like he's getting it for purely selfish reasons. He either like uses some of it to like make things right. Like he pays that girl who works the register at the rare bookstore that he both owns and lives above, giving very big Joe from You vibes. But he also kind of like, he can move it into a new endeavor that's meant for good, like attempting to use the money from the painting to buy the books from Dale's house to try to get to the bottom of what Dale's brother Donald is up to. We also see throughout these first 3 episodes how much he cares about his daughter, Frances. And just, it's short. Lee Raybon, reckless, irresponsible, well-intentioned, caring, and loving father, and seems like a pretty decent guy. The first episode sets up a lot. The Washburn family's political ambitions and their seedy history are exposed through this expose written by Lee for the Heartland Express. That's the long-form magazine, don't call it anything else, that he writes for. Dale, remember, he's the deceased guy from the opening scene. I mentioned his brother Donald a moment ago. Donald's played by Kyle MacLachlan. McCaughlin. I really struggle with that name in that moment. But he's ready for governor while simultaneously piping Dale's wife, Betty Jo. She's played by Jean Triplehorn. You got the Akron Company. It's buying up black businesses in North Tulsa, and a guy affiliated with them named Alan, who's like an OG racist, like back when it was like originally cool. Like, it's cool again now, but like, like it was cool, then it was frowned upon, and now it's like cool again. Alan was like Grand Wizard level racist back when it was like OG cool, like back in the day. And he's killing folks who just might expose what he's up to. Lee's getting beatdowns from skinheads. He's getting beatdowns from skinheads. These 2 guys named Blackie and Berta, because of the things that Lee said about them in the article that was in the Heartland. And he's also having these weird run-ins with Keith David's character, a mysterious guy named Marty, who seemed very mystical and mysterious in the first episode, but then just turns out to be a regular fucking PI in the second or third episode. I still think something's up with Marty though. Lastly, we also meet Cyrus. He's a guy whose eye patch matches his outfit. He's played by Killer Mike. He runs a bit seedier of a publication than the Heartland Express that Lee normally writes for. I believe, I mentioned he got beat up by Blackie and Berta. Blackie's mother refers to Cyrus's magazine as a booty rag. So that tells you about the kind of content that's in this publication. But all these characters I find to be intriguing or endearing in one way or another. The only real issue after episode 1 was that I wasn't really sure like what I was watching or where the show was going after that one. Like there were threads everywhere. And while it seemed like they'd all matter down the line, like as a premiere, it didn't do enough to like fully ground me in what kind of show I was watching and what direction that the show was going. Like it's a mystery, sure, but without some clarity on where it was going, it was hard to really feel invested after one episode where I'm like, yeah, ready to watch the next one. Fortunately, I had another one to watch right away, so that didn't end up being a problem. But if I had to wait a week, I don't know how I would have felt watching that second episode on that second week. Still, Ethan Hawke, he was fantastic. At this stage of his career, he keeps delivering these eccentric but layered performances, and I think Lee's blend of recklessness and kindness, I think really makes that character stand out and shine. Now, episode 2, that for me was where this show found its footing. It's funnier, sharper, it's more confident. Like, right away, we get Lee lying to his ex's new man about getting this black eye, the one that he got from Blackie and Berta, that he got it from like doing jujitsu, and the lie just spirals out of control in a completely ridiculous way. And like the writing on this show and in this scene, it like leans into this absurdity, but the show, even when the writing leans into this absurdity, it doesn't completely lose that edge of danger. Like, for example, whenever Lee has a run-in with Blackie and Berta in these first, I think, 2 episodes, like, no matter how violent it got, you never worry about Lee because it's almost like this show takes place, like, just outside of reality in this world where the protagonist can always get that sharp quip in or can just walk right up to the edge of true danger but always find his way out. But we also, we get a lot of heart here as well. In this episode, Lee visits Blackie's mom in disguise, like dressed up as like a like white trash. And I love this scene, man. It was so clever, but it was also touching. Like on the surface, he's there pretending to be Blackie's friend to like work his mom over to get information about where he could potentially find Blackie. But underneath all that, he knows Blackie is dead, and he sees this woman's love for her son and this like this rose-tinted way in which she views him, and he uses this opportunity to leave her with all these kind words about him. And you know, like, your son helped me through this. He was such a great guy. Like leaving that as her final memory of him, because he knows at some point she's gonna find out he's dead. And the last thing that she's gonna hear about her son is all this nice shit that Lee says about him. And I fucking love that scene, man. And that's what makes Lee work for me. And that scene is really kind of like what won me over. Like Lee, he can't avoid trouble. Like he further involves his daughter in his adventures as the show progresses, but he's just genuinely compassionate as well. Like that scene with Blackie's mom, it had real heart. And the kind of subtle beauty that makes this show special. And that's what I'm wondering if this show can provide, because that's what makes Reservation Dogs so special. Like there's a lot of ways you could compare the two shows, and there's a lot of ways that's similar. And I'm going to get into one of those ways in a little bit. But this way, this heart was one of the ways that Reservation Dogs stood out that you don't know until you start watching the show if it can have that kind of heart. And this show proved that it can with that scene. On the humor side, I thought the banter with Cyrus, this Killer Mike's character, absolutely killed it in episode 2. Thought it was great. Thought it was hilarious. They also introduced these cops that Lee gets into it with. That seems like that's going to be hilarious. Cousin Henry and Waylon. There's another pair that we meet in this episode. They remind me like the two dudes who was rapping on on Reservation Dogs, there's so many parallels with like these humorous characters, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of the cop that gets into it with Lee. I'm looking forward to seeing more of the dynamic between Waylon and Cousin Henry and Lee. Like there's a lot of stuff on that side of things that I'm very comfortable with, and then I'm confident that this show is going to be able to keep up with Res Dogs as far as like humor and endearing characters goes. But while Res Dogs was like a slice of life with cultural heart, this show has a central mystery, which makes it more plot driven and different in certain ways, better in certain ways. Because I would argue that a plot driven show is better than one that is less plot driven. But still, Harjo's knack for character moments, it carries over beautifully with this show. And the fact that Reservation Dogs highlighted a culture that we don't often see is a feature that I don't think this show can ever match. So like, there's ways in which this show can be better, like being plot driven, and there's ways that Res Dogs can be better, like highlighting culture that I don't think this show can never really do. I'm sure it's still going to, just because of who Harjo is, and I'm sure he's going to have plenty of native characters and actors in this, but I feel like it's gonna miss that piece that made Res Dog special. But at the end of the day, both of these shows are performing at a high level in a lot of the same ways. By the end of episode 2, everything felt more grounded. We understand who these people are, what roles they play in the community, what roles they play within the show, what Lee is up against, what he's trying to accomplish. Donald Washburg's affair with Betty Jo, Alan's looming threat, Marty's murky PI status, like all the pieces really fell into place during this episode. And by the end of this one, I was in. Episode 3 takes us on kind of what feels like a detour, but it still pushes the story forward. It revolves around the search for the hidden letters within Dale's books. And it leads Lee and his daughter Frances into the orbit of Catalina and her caviar smuggling husband, Marlon. And I love that. I don't know if this was intentional, but I found it interesting that a man in the fish business is named Marlon. I don't know if that's was intentional or not. It's got to be. Too smarter writers on this show for that to have not been intentional. But while the caviar side plot feels like its own little world, it did give us some of my favorite moments so far. Like, for example, the story of the time where Lee got arrested. Like, is that story going to be something that we like learn about in bits and pieces and never really get the full picture? Like, were those things where like every time he gets to an interesting part, we get cut off? Like, that's interesting to me. And again, when we're talking about Lee, he didn't have to help Marlon write that love letter to his wife. And like, sure, he was mostly doing that to help himself escape, just like he was mostly trying to get information about Blackie from his mother. But there's like a real kindness there that I love about this character. And we see Lee and Frances' bond grow stronger as well. Like, she's not a good liar like he is, but she's sharp and she's determined. And when she steals the books and ultimately recovers Dale's letters, it's clear she's learning in her own way and that she's taken on a lot of Lee's natural talents. Like, that father-daughter dynamic is easily, I feel like, the emotional backbone of this show. The final image of Dale dictating one of his letters to, from the beyond to them, blasting his brother Donald. I thought that was a nice touch, especially with it being filmed as if Lee and Frances could see him sitting there. Between Alan's menacing presence, Donald's scheming, Marty shifting loyalties, but then you also got these endearing and humorous characters as well. It just feels like the show has already found its way. So yeah, man, like the Lowdown is strange, funny, dark, unpredictable. Episode 1 had me questioning what kind of show this even wanted to be, but by episode 2 and especially episode 3, I could see the vision. So it's a mystery anchored in Tulsa politics and corruption, but also with these quirky characters and moments of genuine heart that we've come to love from Reservation Dogs. Ethan Hawke is giving us a messy but lovable protagonist, and Harjo's building another world full of eccentric, unforgettable people. But I want to hear what you guys think. What did you think of the show? Did you feel that shift where the show seemed to find itself? Was that just me? Let me know in the comments. But for me, I'm all in. It's not as instantly powerful as Reservation Dogs, but it's shaping up into a weird, heartfelt mystery that has me curious where it's going to go. So let me know what you thought in the comments. Like the channel, subscribe, share to your social media, join the Discord, join the conversation. And until next week, peace.